finally getting over some procrastination, and I'm going to do a video that I've been putting off making, and that is caring for my houseplants. Once again, they've been neglected. After my garden supervisor, a golden retriever, who I had for 10 years, passed away, I became obsessed with my houseplants. But in recent times, it is spring and the garden outside is calling me, so now they've been neglected once again. And today we are changing all that. We are cleaning them, we are pruning them, we are fertilizing a few of them. What else are we doing? We're just taking care of them, really. A lot of cleaning, a lot of trimming, and watering them. A lot of them are really dry. I haven't been watering regularly, so let's get started. Right beside me, I am surrounded by plants. This is my, whoa. This is actually a rubber tree, and I'm sitting on the floor, and this tree is, let's see if I can back up the tripod a little bit. Let's see. The tree is about, I'm going to say it's about 4 feet tall now. It's really grown a lot. And I'm just going to clean the leaves. I haven't dusted them since my last plant care video almost a year ago, which is kind of embarrassing, but they have beautiful, beautiful leaves, and they do need proper care if you want them to shine and look their best and feel their best and grow healthy and strong. I'm just using, it's actually an old face cloth that is just wet with water, nothing special, and I'm just wiping down all the leaves. I wish I could play some nice, soft, relaxing music for this video, but I'm always worried about those copyright claims, copyright strikes on YouTube, so I'm not playing any music for this video. When I make my edited videos, I know where the music is coming from and I know how to properly source it, but for a live stream, I don't have that knowledge, so we're not doing music today, unfortunately, but it feels like this needs some Zen kind of music for this type of video. It could be a whole new level of relaxation with a little Zen music. Maybe if you're watching and you have an ability to play some Zen music at the same time, you might want to do that. Put on some soft, relaxing music while you watch me clean and take care of these houseplants. And I'm actually going to do a little pruning at the same time. I'm going to lower the tripod down if I can show you. I have a leaf here that is, can you see this? I don't even know. This leaf here, whoa, there we go, is curling, and I don't like that, so I'm just going to pluck it right off. Good morning, bold pictures gardeners with Christiana. Love my plants. Well, thank you. We're just getting started. This isn't my whole houseplant collection, but many of them are here, and many of them do need a little bit of care. So I'm just doing some cleaning, dusting the leaves. We're going to give some trimming, and we're going to fertilize and water a little later on. So that was my rubber tree. I took this leaf off right here. It was really the only one that looks suspect. And it doesn't look that bad, but I wanted to make sure the plants are getting their best care. And we're going to move on to a snake plant next. We're going to take this container here. See if I can lower you down a little bit. It's kind of wild what is happening in here. Let's see. Maybe I'll lift you up. This is a whole whack of snake plant. I think the scientific name is Sansevieria. We've got some yellow leaves. I'm just going to take that right out. It's been a while since this has been watered. Got another one here. Actually, there's a few of them in here. We're taking those all out. And just going to get this plant looking a little bit healthier. So that is good. And now I've got got my watering can here. This is just regular water, but I think I'm going to spice it up a little bit. I have a fertilizer beside me, and I'll show you what we're going to use. By the way, I am not sponsored by any fertilizer companies, and if this is the first time you've seen this channel, welcome. My name is Lisa, and this is Growing on Vancouver Island. I make mostly garden videos. I've never been sponsored by a fertilizer company, but this is fertilizer I've been using for a long time, mostly on my outdoor plants, but I also use it on my indoor plants. This is a water-soluble seaweed extract. I've used it from a local company. This is a not local company, I don't think, Gia Green. I'll show you what it looks like, and plants go bananas for this fertilizer. This is what a seaweed extract fertilizer looks like. So this one contains 17% potash, if you are into fertilizers. This is what it looks like. It is super beautiful, and tons and tons of micronutrients in seaweed. If you've used real seaweed in a vegetable garden outside ever, you will know what I'm talking about. Plants just have a surge in growth when you use seaweed fertilizer. It's the same thing when you use it in a seaweed extract format. You don't need a lot, about a spoonful in a watering can. Now this is actually a small watering can. It's meant to be used in a much bigger watering can, but I just do a pretty concentrated dosage for my plants. And the wonderful thing about a seaweed fertilizer, or most organic fertilizers, this is considered organic, is that it's almost impossible to burn a plant with fertilizer that is organic. That is one of the benefits of using organic fertilizers. When you use inorganic stuff, such as, I'm not going to use any company names, but there's a lot of inorganic stuff that is like a big, bold punch for your plants. You can burn them really easily. With an organic fertilizer, very, very difficult to burn them. And outside in spring, summer, sometimes I water multiple times a week with this stuff, and I've never burned a plant. It is amazing, and the plants just eat it up. So we're going to water my little snake plant here. And you probably can't see that. Let me move the camera. No, let's move the plant. So when it comes out, it is a dark color. I don't know if the water is being picked up on the camera, but that is just the color of the fertilizer. And if you're wondering, there is no odor in this fertilizer, even though it's seaweed and it's from the ocean. If you live by the ocean, you might be wondering about that. You can smell seaweed sometimes. Zero odor. You're not going to smell anything. It smells like nothing. So that is very good if you're concerned about odors in your home or garden. It's not going to cause any problems. So this plant has got a good amount of water, fertilizer. We've removed some suspicious looking foliage. We're going to move on to something else, which I think is actually going to be another snake plant. I've got a really good collection of snake plants. This one here is a little bit smaller, but it has some suspect growth on it. We're going to remove. And I think it mostly needs water and maybe a light dusting, actually. I just put my fertilizer spoon on my white rug without even thinking about it, but thankfully, my garden gloves were excellent for cleaning that up. So, no worries. Here we have the snake plant, and it's got some more suspect stuff going on in the pot. I'm gonna take that out. This is actually a collection of snake plants. Last summer, I took my snake plants that were growing in many pots and put them into bigger pots together, so I had less overall containers. And so far I've liked the outcome of doing that. So we're just going to give them some of my fertilizer water. They could probably use a heavier drink, but I am going a little bit lighter on the water today, just because they haven't had water in a while and we don't want to overdose them. Next, we are going to do another snake plant, and I think this one is looking pretty pretty good. There's actually nothing suspect on here, which is awesome. Well, maybe a tiny bit, but I hardly count that because compared to the other ones, I think it's pretty awesome. Good morning, Howie. We are doing some houseplant care today. This is one of my Sansevieria snake plants. I am dusting and watering and pruning things that I really neglected for a while. Whoops, I just took it out. I think that was a propagation, but we'll put it back in because it's not looking poorly. It's looking okay. When Zipper passed away, Zipper was my garden supervisor. Good morning, Arlie D. Probably said your name wrong, I'm sorry. When he passed away, the houseplants really got me through the worst of my grief and sorrow. But in recent times, I've neglected them. You're rough on my plants. I'm rough on a lot of things, actually. Unfortunately, that's kind of just my nature. I'm clumsy, I'm rough, all kinds of things, but that's just the way it works. I used houseplants really to get me through the grief. I would go around my house, give them so much care, so much water, and then the garden came alive outside in recent times, and I went back to my true passion, which is actually gardening. I love houseplants, but I love the garden so much more. And then these guys started to get neglected again. So now I have decided today when I woke up, I was like, I've been putting off this video and I'm gonna make it. And I'm gonna do it live because then I don't have to edit it, and that's kind of saves me a little bit of time. And the plants absolutely need a little bit more looking after. They have gone through their fair share of neglect. So it's time to give them a little bit of tender, loving care this morning. I'm going to show you this is actually a propagation. Now, I know a lot of houseplant people love propagations, and I love propagating outside, but I've never really been much of a houseplant propagator, but I did an experiment. Partly because I'm poor at houseplants and partly because I don't need any more houseplants. I don't want to know how to edit my journey. Well, you don't need to know. This is a snake plant. I don't know if you can tell. I'm kind of lifting it up here for you. Can we move the camera? Let's see. There is a propagation in here. Let's see if I'm not going to spill it. That stick that you see, I'm going to point to it right in here. This is actually a pothos propagation. I propagated this maybe 3 to 4 months ago. This is the first time I've ever attempted a pothos propagation, and I just took it out. This is actually the first time I've seen it myself, and I do think there are tiny little roots that are starting to develop. So that's kind of exciting. I'm not surprised it hasn't grown more because I've neglected watering this plant. However, I'm surprised it didn't die completely because of the neglect. So I think that shows you just how vigorous the pothos is, that it can survive in pretty dry soil, even a cutting like this, when it's not getting moisture and it doesn't have leaves, but it's not dead and it is getting tiny little roots. It just shows you how vigorous plants really are. The plants are pretty amazing life forms on this plant. And I think we're really just starting to learn more and more about them. There's so much that we can get from nature, whether it is more medicine to help us overcome a lot of health problems, whether it is more food and nutrition from nature. There is so much that nature gives us that we still haven't really learned about. And I think overall, the world is still learning more about the plant kingdom. That's a lot of unknowns. So we've moved on to another plant. Let's see if I can move the camera. This, I believe, is a corn plant. A corn plant or corn stalk? Corn something or other. And this has always reminded me of palm tree, but this is no palm tree. This is most definitely a, they might even call this Dieffenbachia. No. I'm mixing them up. I'm terrible with houseplant names. I think it's a corn plant of sorts. And it's been putting on lots of growth. I guess you can't see the top of it, but let's see if I can show you. This one has been thriving since my dog passed away, sadly, but true. When he was alive, I hardly paid attention to these plants, like such significant neglect. And this one didn't grow for like 3 years, no growth. A little bit of browning on the leaves, but since he died, it's got like 5 new leaves, which is crazy. I think what I never realized when he was alive, I spent a lot of time with him. Like he was with me all the time. And I've realized how much time I have now that he's not here anymore. It's a lot more time. So I'm just shining the leaves. The last time I did this, I did it in the shower actually, and the bathtub about a year ago. And I made a video, and that was a really challenging video to make because it's hard to film houseplants in the bathtub and the shower when you're like playing with a tripod and you're playing with the water and you're playing with the houseplants. It is really hard. So I decided I wasn't going to do that, especially on a live stream. Oh my God, can you imagine? I would be getting water on the camera. There would be dirt flying around. That would be, maybe I'd get a lot of views, but it would be a terrible disaster to do that live. Oh my goodness. So it's just a little living room plant care morning video today. I think this one it's got a pretty good dose of cleansing, and I think it needs a little bit of water. My watering can is getting a little bit low, but we're not overdosing on water. We're just going for a little bit of a drink this morning. And in case you're wondering, it is actually medically possible to overdose on water. Extremely rare, but it is possible. Not saying I'm not a doctor by any means, but I do work in healthcare, and it is technically possible to overdose on water, but very hard to do. And here we have another snake plant, and it has another suspect leaf. So we're just going to take that off and give it another drink of water. And a cleansing. I do have other plants here. I actually think this is going to be one of my longer live streams. I've been challenging myself to try to live stream a little bit longer because one of my problems, which I'm still kind of working on, is when I do a live stream, I talk too fast, I think, and I just go too fast, and there's many reasons for that. I know some people live stream all the time and they're super good at it, but when I started YouTube, the thought of a live stream was absolutely terrifying to me. And I don't know how many people here have seen my YouTube channel. I know there could be some new people in the conversation, but I love the ability to edit videos, and by nature, I am a major introvert, although YouTube has changed that significantly. But before starting YouTube, I was really much an introvert, so talking to strangers or talking to the internet live was terrifying. But I started out going in live stream chats, and then at one point I did an audio only live stream. I did a few of those, and Howie, your channel was the very first time I went video on a live stream, and that was so empowering. I'm so grateful that you gave that opportunity. I don't know if you knew that or not, but that was the first time I ever did a video live stream, and I learned so much from doing that, and it was such a good experience. So now I'm trying to do them a little more often, but I'm still working on going slower. I get anxiety still before I press the live button. I'm like, oh my God, what is going to go wrong? What is going to get screwed up? It's like all that's the words in your head that spiral around and around, and you just have to kind of like stop them. Like, it's okay, it's gonna be fine. And most of the time, nobody watches my live stream, so it doesn't matter. But all those things going on in my brain before I press the live button. I know some people just have it so natural, but that must come down to personality. And maybe introverts have it harder. I don't know. I've never been an extrovert, so I don't really know what that's like to just be able to go and talk to people and not have other voices in your head saying like, this is not, you shouldn't do this is scary and challenging and don't do it. But I don't know what that's like. That must be an interesting way to be. This is a great live stream. Yesterday I caught a cold at the blood clinic because there was no mask required. Fellow older male earthling coughed germs on me, and now I will miss my, oh no, that's terrible. I'm so sorry to hear that. Yes, that is true. The masks aren't required anymore. And I do work in healthcare, and I do know some healthcare workers have still worn them and some are not, and patients too. It's optional now. So there are certainly benefits to wearing masks, and there are definitely pitfalls. Like, I know wearing them for 12 hours straight, 4 to 6 days a week for me sometimes, it is hard to wear a mask for 6 days a week, 12 or 8 hours at a time. We do get breaks. Like, you get a break here and a break there, but there's good things and there's bad things about the masks. I think it's kind of controversial. They protect people for sure, and it's definitely a good idea in many situations to still wear a mask. So next, let's do something exciting. The waiting room cleared out when he started coughing. Oh no, that's terrible. It's a risk with going to a healthcare facility, unfortunately. This is my Boston fern, one of my Boston ferns. This was the mother plant, and I also have the child plant or baby plant, whatever you want to call it. This was actually something I did, it's been almost 2 years now. I'm going to show you. This one here was a propagation. Well, no, it's a division. Division is when there's a root. A propagation is no root, if I'm not mistaken. This was the mother plant, and 2 years ago, it was a year and a half ago, it was doing poorly. So in the summertime, I did a dividing video outside, and I cut this one in half and created this one. And they're both doing much, much better, but I have neglected them, so we need to do a pruning session now. I've got some scissors. I've got a few pairs of scissors here. We're gonna see which ones we're gonna cut with. And I'm looking for my little pails so I don't make a hot mess everywhere, which is probably going to happen anyways. It's typical I do things. Where is my bucket? Very useful tools. Don't ever throw them away. They have so many uses, whether it's cleaning, putting items in them. You can use these on Vancouver Island. This is the most common vessel for blackberry picking. Such a good, useful tool. If you buy 4-liter ice cream, or if you've ever bought it, don't throw this out. Keep it. So we're gonna give this little houseplant, I gotta get closer to the camera, a little pruning session. So I'm just going to cut off some foliage. All the dry material should really come off of these ferns. I'm doing a little moist material too. Pruning never hurts. I feel like plants usually get stronger, and you can think of it in the sense if a plant was in the wilderness outside, like, oh, let's lower the camera down. Maybe that'll help. Is that gonna help? I don't know. If a plant was in the wilderness, say we're talking in the forest, and a deer comes along and takes a few bites out of the plant, the plant can have a couple of outcomes. It can either die or it can grow stronger, and most of the time it's going to grow stronger. And the same is true with houseplants and garden plants for the most part. Unless the deer or animal takes off such a significant portion that the plant can't recover, usually it's going to make the plant stronger when it gets a pruning, whether that is from scissors, pruners, or the jaws of a deer. I am seeing such dry soil here. I really did neglect this poor plant, but it is still going pretty strong despite the neglect. And I'm going to take a short 1-minute intermission to refill my watering can, which, by the way, this has a leak in it and I have been neglecting to replace it. I just need to do that, and I've known for a couple months. But instead of replacing it, what do? I grab a towel to prevent the water leakage. You can actually tell this is full of water. Let me show you. This is my water leaking from the watering can. I just need to buy a new one. And I don't know why I haven't, but I haven't. So I will be back in about 1.5 minutes, maybe less. Just need to refill my leaky can. Okay, we're back with a full can of water. So now we're going to add more fertilizer. Johnny Bender, good morning. I have a green thumb. Sometimes I have a green thumb. My houseplants, I have more of a brown to green thumb. At one point, early in my YouTube journey, I made this video. It was basically a fairy garden video, but I titled it For Brown Thumb Gardeners because it was using fake houseplants to make the fairy garden. Because I'm okay with houseplants, but I'm not an expert, and I have killed a lot of them on my houseplant journey. This is the seaweed extract. I showed it earlier in the live stream. It is my plant food fertilizer. Very, very good for everything you can imagine. And we're just mixing it into the can. And yes, I use more than the container says, and that is okay. Very difficult to burn a houseplant with organic fertilizer or a plant in your garden. If you have access to the ocean and you have a garden and it's legal in your area, I highly recommend amending your soil with seaweeds. What are we doing next? I think we are going to dust this cylindrical snake plant. This actually was the mother plant. Last year I divided. I'm going to say 4 of these came from this one plant. So it has produced a lot of smaller plants from the one plant, and it seems to keeps growing wider and wider. I kind of wonder how wide this plant can grow with proper care. I think it would be so cool if it got like 2 meters long. That would be super awesome. I kind of wonder what the Guinness Book of World Records is for a plant like this. Is that something that still exists? The Guinness Book of World Records? Do people still publish those? I don't even know, but when I was a child, they were kind of popular books. And they had all kinds of fun facts of things that were just outrageous, like records. And I do wonder what the widest cylindrical snake plant might be. Have an amazing day. You too. Thank you for stopping by, Johnny Bender. Now, what should we do next? I haven't dusted my variegated snake plant. No, it's a rubber tree. Let's see. Let's do that. And I'm just using water on a cloth to dust, nothing fancy. If you have houseplants, it is actually pretty amazing how quickly the dust can, oh shoot. I talked about making a mess. I literally just spilled this all over the rug, but that's okay. I will be vacuuming after the live stream anyways, so no worries. Yes, we talked about that earlier in the stream, and of course it happened. I should actually show you the floor after I'm done. That will be quite the sight to see. Oh my gosh, beautiful plant. Well, thank you, Michael. This is one of my favorites, actually. Out of all my collection, my two rubber trees, there's one here. Can we see that? Probably not. This one, you can't even really see it, is my absolute favorite. This is considered a burgundy rubber tree, and it has these deep, glossy green leaves, and they are just so lush and beautiful. This is my absolute favorite houseplant. And it's never had a problem, like never had a disease, never had a bug, so easy to look after, doesn't need much water. And my second favorite houseplant of all time is right here. This is a variegated houseplant, rubber tree. It probably has another name, but I don't actually know if it has another name. I'm not like a houseplant guru. I kind of wish I was, and I watch a few houseplant channels, but I'm not like houseplant queen. Like, I'm more of a gardening person. I definitely appreciate the knowledge of houseplant people and the ability to create jungles of houseplants, but I don't know if I'll ever get there in my houseplant journey. Do I have a greenhouse? That's a loaded question, because no, in the traditional sense, I don't have a greenhouse. If you watched my video recently, I think I called it something about evicting my tomato plants from my house. I have these DIY mini greenhouses in containers outside where I put some homegrown tomatoes outside already. And if you're new here, I live in the Pacific Northwest, Zone 7, Central Vancouver Island. Yes, it is too early to be growing tomatoes outside, and no, I don't care, because I started an indoor food garden in the wintertime inside my house, and I had way too many tomato plants growing in my house, and they were like this big already, and that was getting a little out of hand. It was like a wild jungle walking into the plant room, which is not this room, by the way, that's a different room. So I decided to take them outside. We're gonna pluck a leaf off here. I like to go for the healthiest looking leaves and can leave them on the plant. And I put them out in these DIY greenhouses, and they're doing okay. Yes, I might have had some deaths, but I was anticipating that. I'm basically playing Russian roulette in the garden. Should any of shield any kind will save your plant planted early. So true. It doesn't matter what it is. I have garbage bags tied around tomato cages. Those are what most of my greenhouses are. I have different styles, like I have different types of garbage bags, and I've manipulated them in different fashions around the plants. And yes, there is a difference in how those plants are growing. I will show that in a video, but I'll give you an alert. I have 3 types of bags. I have a clear, I have a white, and I have a black garbage bag in those DIY tomato greenhouses. And when I created them, I used different color combinations to test what would work best for those tomatoes. And I'm not surprised the outcome using 2 pure black bags has proven to be the best. They absorb that heat. The heat is just like, it really is a true greenhouse effect when you use a black garbage bag as a greenhouse around a container plant. Compared to the white and the clear bags, those tomatoes are growing significantly better. So that was an interesting experiment. So in the sense of, do I have an expensive normal greenhouse? No, I don't. I don't have space for it. I don't have the budget for it, probably, I'm not sure. But I have DIY greenhouses, and there's nothing wrong with that. Most people have garbage bags in their house, and most people could make these, and they cost very little, a few pennies. at the most to make a DIY greenhouse. I wish one day I could have a greenhouse. I do admire gardeners who have greenhouses, whether they're big channels, little channels, not on YouTube. I think it is so cool to have a greenhouse, but I'm not there. Maybe one day I will have a greenhouse, but not at this stage of where things are right now. But that's okay. I have a non-traditional greenhouse. And that was probably a very long-winded answer. And sometimes I am a little bit bad for that, both on YouTube and go on these long tangents, get off the topic, and then come right back to the topic. But that's just the nature of my regular old personality. Now I have another little cylindrical plant. Let's do a size comparison. This is a baby from this plant, or a child, or a, what else should we call it? There's probably another name, a good name, but my vocabulary sometimes doesn't function properly. This basically came from this plant, and it is doing totally fine. Good growth on this, considering how long it's been since it came out of this plant. Greenhouses can give food all year round. I like rocket stoves. What is a rocket stove? I've never heard of that. So I'm just going to dust these leaves. And give this guy a little bit of water. I'm watching the water absorb in case you're wondering what I'm doing. It's kind of nice to watch it absorb. When I water my garden outside, particularly my fruit trees. Now, this is a myth. If you are a gardener, you might disagree, but this is my own opinion on fruit trees outside in your garden when you're watering. Rocket stove is very easy to make and can run on junk mail. Oh, interesting. What I do is I have these little circular spaces under all of my fruit trees where basically the planting hole was. They're kind of like this big, and there's like a little bit of edging around them. So when I water, I basically watch the water. Whether that's weird or not, I don't know. But I put on a full force of water, and I basically watch how fast the water is absorbed. So if it's being absorbed really, really fast, and you can see it on a dry day in your garden, that water is just like going down into the roots. But as the tree soaks up more of the water, the absorption rate slows down significantly. And that's when I stop watering. But I am actually physically watching the rate of absorption. It's not a eyes off process. Now you can water. If you don't want to watch your plants, you don't have to watch your plants. That is fine. But that is how I water. I definitely give my fruit trees a lot of water. And some of these are mature fruit trees. And some people will argue you don't need to water mature fruit trees. I personally don't agree with that. I think you're going to have a better harvest, a bigger harvest, and more healthy fruit and a more healthy tree if you actually water your trees, even mature fruit trees. Rocket stove heats greenhouse in winter, and you may use it for cooking. A dozen bricks can make a rocket stove. That is very interesting. Good information. I will keep that in the back of my mind, and if the time comes when I can have a greenhouse, maybe I will heat it with a rocket stove. So, oh dear, the next section of plants, these are going to be a little more challenging. These are the ones I've really been procrastinating with because I didn't really want to deal with them, but I probably should deal with them. I'm going to get them down from the table. They are, they're on the table right now, right beside me. And since I've been on the live stream on the floor, I think I'm going to stay on the floor. It's a safe place. Accidents happen less when you're sitting on the floor versus standing or walking. Known fact. So, let's see here. Oh dear, this is not one I wanted to deal with. This is let's turn it around a little bit. These two plants are actually dragon fruit cactus, and they're not looking their best. I don't know if you can see, I'll get a little closer. I bought these both on Facebook Marketplace from a local grower, their own home. And I love the concept that a cactus can one day produce fruit. I have these, and I have two prickly pear cacti, which also one day may produce fruit. They're doing really well. This one is not doing as hot, these two cacti. So what's happening here is that these cacti, although they are quite tall, they are very spindly. They're like basically growing thin and long, and I don't like it. It doesn't look healthy. I don't think this is good for the plant. So what I was thinking actually was that I was going to cut off the plant probably around here and then possibly do some propagations of this long spindly type of cacti. I don't love dealing with my cactuses, and I also don't love cutting. I cut them when I need to, but it's not my favorite thing. I do have some gloves, so we're gonna do this. Get over the procrastination. If you've been procrastinating with something, today is the day you need to try to get over your little procrastination. That can be a hard thing to do depending on the topic, but at some point we all need to get over our procrastinations. And these are the gloves. These were actually from a company that sent me a gardening stool to try out. These are digging gloves. They're kind of fun. They're like claws. Optunia, i.e. prickly pear, has edible pads. The pads are edible? Are you kidding me? I did not know that. How do you eat them? Can I just do a taste test? No, probably not. I'm gonna like get spines in my mouth. Do I have to cut them open? Do I need to cook them? I had no idea you could eat the pads. That is such good information. I need to research that a little bit more. That is so cool. I knew you could eat the fruit, but my plant has never flowered, nor has it ever fruited. But the fact you can eat the pads is incredible. Google will have to give me a little more education on that a little later today when I think about that some more. So I do have pruning shears. I also have these scissors. I'm just gonna start cutting, I think. This cactus. You can't even see that. Let me lower you down if you can go a little lower on the tripod. We're kind of getting to the bottom of the tripod here, so maybe I need to back it up a little bit. Let's see. Can you see here? Oh, you can kind of see that. Buy the pads at the market and the glow, what does that say? The glow chides have been removed for you. What is a glow chide? Am I gonna get sick if I just take my prickly pear cactus and start chopping it up and eating it? Is there a seed or something I need to remove? I definitely need to research that because I don't really want to get sick and have to go to my workplace when I don't need to. Needles. Oh, okay, I see what you're saying. So I think I'm going to take off my, should I take off my trellis? I probably should. No, I'm going to leave it. Let's just start cutting. Now, I better put the gloves back on before I really poke myself. Pronounced glow kids. Oh, interesting. My scissors, and I'm probably going to need to untie it too. I've tied it up to the trellis. Should have done that first. There's actually part of this cactus that it's definitely needing this to happen. I don't know if you can tell. I'm not getting pricked right now, but this is all yellow instead of green. Can I go closer to you? This piece is yellowing, so this needs to happen. I'm not just messing around with my cacti for no good reason. I don't mess around with these plants on purpose because although I am touching them, they aren't hurting me. I still don't want to get poked. I think the bigger thorns are at the bottom versus the top, but let's see. We're gonna do a cut. And can it come closer to the camera?
And I think I'm going to cut close to the bottom, like way down here. So this is what I cut off. I love these roots that these dragon fruit cacti got. When I first started to see this happen on my cactus, I was mind blown because I have other cacti. None of them were doing this. And I actually made a little YouTube video when I had almost no viewers on my channel, and I said, is this a mutant cactus? And I truly believed it might be because I had never ever seen a cactus do this before. And I was like, what in the world? And then somebody said, no, those are air roots, similar to an orchid. And I was like, oh, cool. I have orchids, didn't know that. But very interesting how these plants grow. So I'm going to take my other cactus here. Hello, Evan. What am I doing? I am doing houseplant care, and right now I just pruned a good chunk off of my dragon fruit cactuses. I have 2 of them, and they're growing kind of not at their best. They're not growing their best life. No, that doesn't make sense. They're not doing their best. So we are giving them a little TLC today. That is so nice. Yes, thank you. So next we are going to cut another piece of this cactus. So I have the one here that we're going to just cut. We're going to cut it right down to the base like that. So that is what I took off. Now let's take a look at what is left. So we have these 2. Those are kind of the original base pieces. Oh, I see another little trimming I should do right here. This is looking not so hot. Take that off. And what I was thinking was cutting this into smaller pieces and propagating it in the same pot. I don't think that's a bad idea. I think it'll work out. And I could probably actually remove these trellises because it's not climbing anymore. It's too small now. So let's take those out. So that is what we're dealing with, these cactuses here. So I think what I'm going to do, oh boy, I said these weren't pokey, but I felt the spine through my shirt. That's not a good thing. So, here we go. We're just going to poke. No, we're not poking. We are going to cut. And then put this into the container here. And put on a glove because I don't really want dirt under my nails this morning. We're going to put on my digging gloves. These are actually little claws, and a company sent me this when I was doing a review of a garden stool. It was included, which was so fun. So I'm going to dig a little hole with these fancy little gloves. And this soil is bone dry, so don't worry, I have a watering can right beside me and we will water it. Just gonna till the soil a little bit. And then I am going to put in this propagation here. Now I wonder if that's too big. Is that too big? Should I go smaller? Maybe I should cut this smaller. Oh, it is a little pokey, but that's okay. I'm gonna cut it in half. And we're going to put in this piece, I think, into the little propagation here and cover it with some soil. And I'm going to give it a good drink of water. Cactuses, oh, I'm going to propagate this. This is a succulent and I just broke it off, so let's stick it in to propagate it. And my watering can is right here, so we're going to give these guys a good drink of water. Oh shit, I just made a big mistake. Oh my god, I swore, and I have, this is such a mess. I have water coming onto my pants. Can you see that? Oh, that was an accident. Oh boy. Oh my god. This is why live streams are so dangerous. You have all kinds of problems. I'm going to show you my socks because this is literally a hot mess. I cannot believe this. Like, can you see that? I am like so messy here. This is pretty disastrous, and I'm not finished. We're just getting started. Oh my god. Those are so cool. The gloves, they are really cool. I love those. Okay, so cactus repotting is done. Big thumbs up for that for me. I'm giving myself a thumbs up. If you want to thumbs up the video, go ahead. You don't have to. Oh, yes. Next, I have more cactuses to deal with. Cactus is the name of the day today. Oh my God, what did I just do? I am making such a mess on my table. Like, this is a hot mess disaster going on here. And no, this is not for the video. Like, this is my normal everyday. If I was doing this by myself without the camera, this stuff still happens. Like, I am just a hot mess all the time when it comes to stuff like this. In the garden, it doesn't matter because it's outside. You can make a hot mess. You go in, you change your clothes, and you're back to normal. In the house, it's a little bit different because you have to clean up after yourself. So, here is another one of my cactus pots. And we are going to, well, I'm not sure what we're going to do. I see some sketchy stuff happening here. We're going to take a closer look first. And I'm going to mop up some of the water I spilled with this cloth because I got a mess happening. This is more cactus propagations. This is officially my cactus propagation pot. Different varieties here. I'm going to remove these because I don't like them and they don't look so hot. I don't think they're doing super well. We're going to just put them in my pot. Next, I got to take this one out. It doesn't look so good. And I've got something interesting happening. Now, I need some analysis on this. Look at this. This looks dead, but yet not dead. So do I keep this or do I toss it? That is the question. It's like growing on a dead piece, but it's clearly alive. Like, what in the world? What plant does that? Plants I've seen do that are in Mother Nature, when you see a tree trunk that's been cut for who knows how long. Might have been a year, it might have been 10 years. And then you see another tree or another plant or multiple plants growing out of that same tree stump. I think this is a similar concept, which is happening to this cactus right here. But I can't decide. Aesthetically, this is not pleasing to look at, but it is growing. So I think I don't have the heart to pull it out. Like, that is like, how do you stop a plant that is growing? It clearly has the will to live. If you have the will to live, you might as well keep growing. That's how I see it. I think I'm going to leave it. I was definitely going to pull it out, but looking at it more carefully, I don't have the heart to pull this cactus out. It is doing too well. So instead, we're just going to water it, and I'm not going to screw up this time. I have the lid underneath. We're going to put it back in there and not get myself too wet this time. So we're going to put this in the water. And that is good. I think this container looks a little bit better with a few less pieces that don't look good. Now I have one more cactus problem to deal with today. This one is probably going to be challenging because I'm not 100% certain what we're doing with it. This is what I call the leaning tower of cactus. Like, look at that. No matter what I do, this thing does not want to grow straight. My thought was, I've repotted it. I've done all kinds of stuff to try to rein this guy in. It likes to grow horizontal instead of vertical. I don't know, maybe it needs a better pep talk. Maybe I'm not saying the right words to this cactus, but what in the world? I do have a stick. I don't think this is going to work, to be quite honest. This was from my orchid that passed away this year. I'm going to try to prop it up, and I think I need my gloves again because I don't think this is good to do it without gloves. This is a very, very prickly cactus. Can I stake it? I'm going to try to stake it, but I'm not super optimistic this is going to work, but we'll give it a shot. So we've got a little stick. This was from orchids, and let's see. It doesn't look bad, but I don't trust it's going to stay like this. Yeah, I know. I had 2 orchids. They were beautiful. They both passed away. So I have a little tie. Now I haven't actually tried, no, I have I? I sort of had the dragon fruit cactus tied up, but that was with a different type of tie. So we're gonna try this one. These I actually usually use them on tomato plants and on bouquets actually. I use these to put bouquets together when I make those. But let's see here. I don't want to get pricked, but those gloves, the thing I don't like about gloves in gardening and plant care is that they are so like big. I have poor dexterity when I wear gloves. And part of that is because I don't know if you can tell in the camera, but I actually have extremely, small hands. And normally, if I'm wearing gloves that actually fit properly, I need to wear a kid size. My hands are actually children's size in size. Like when I wear those, some videos you see me wearing blue gloves, those are size small. And I am a small. I'm very petite in general. So most gardening gloves are too big. I have to wear like youth or kid size, and sometimes they're hard to find. And that's why things like this are monstrous on my little hands. So I think for now it's going to work. I don't know, because this cactus actually lives in my fireplace most of the year. And it loves to lean over because the light comes from kind of the other side of where it lives. It's going to work for now, but I don't think it's going to last long term. So I'm going to leave it today, but it might not last in the long run. I'll have to come up with another idea. Because of the photosynthesis or the sun, it will grow in the direction of sun. Of course, yes, most plants do that. Very true. So that is the cactus. Now, what else do I have? I have some air plants actually, and I'll show you them. They're so tiny and cute. This is one of them. And this is another one right here. And I am going to give them a little bit of water. I'm just going to go and get a little, will I go? No, I'm not going to go anywhere. I will use what I have. I don't need to go anywhere. I'm going to use this vessel actually. This is not where I keep them normally, but I'm going to pour some water into here. And if you're unfamiliar with air plants, I was actually unfamiliar with them. The person that introduced me to these, of all people, you may have never met them or seen them on YouTube, was another YouTuber. And her name actually is Grandma Sandy. She is not a houseplant channel. She makes garden tours and does a lot of fairy gardens. And that's where I learned about these plants. She was using them in her California garden as fairy garden plants. And I was fascinated because air plants don't need soil, which is super cool. You can literally put them wherever you want and grow them. You do have to water them every now and then, not very often, but what I'm doing is I'm putting this in the little fertilizer water, and I'm gonna soak them from anywhere from, I think houseplant care things say like 15-20 minutes. I usually do like an hour or so. And I just let them sit in the water. And that's all you do. There's no messing around with soil, which is so nice for a houseplant, because the benefit of that is if I only had those air plants and I didn't have any other houseplant in this house, you would never have a problem with bugs. You don't even have to have a traditional houseplant container. So it's pretty cool air plants. And what I do is I actually grow them in seashells. I have a seashell. Oh shit. Shoot, I don't swear. That is not good. I have seashells, and that's where I grow my air plants. I have another one here. This one I found on a local beach, and this one I don't remember where that came from, but it wasn't local, but this one for sure was a local beach. So that's where these two houseplants live, air plants. That's where these air plants grow, in my window in the seashells. And, oh, we do have one more houseplant we have not tackled. I do see it on my table. But first, I'm going to have a little drink. My mouth is getting dry. Oh, my goodness. Yeah, if you're still there, I don't know how you actually do your live streams for like 1 or 2 hours. I've never seen you drink. Maybe you had a coffee once, but I've never seen you consume beverages while you're live streaming. I don't know how people do that, because like your mouth gets dry. Maybe other people have more saliva or something. I don't know, but my mouth gets dry. Next, we are tackling my coffee tree. I love this tree. And in case you're wondering, I don't drink coffee. I haven't had any, well, that's not true. I didn't drink coffee for 16 years actually. When I started working as a nurse, I needed coffee for my night shifts and I went crazy with the coffee. I would have multiple coffees a day. And over time, I started to notice a correlation between consuming coffee specifically, and getting chest pain. Basically, I ended up with heart things happening, which shouldn't be happening in the form of chest pain. And I had to stop. I had to stop completely. And I didn't know how I would work my night shifts with not drinking coffee. But I switched to tea, and I have no problems with green tea, with regular tea, like a black tea, a chai tea, any of those teas. It's something with coffee. I can't have coffee, but I do have a coffee tree. And no, I don't have coffee beans. One day I might, but I don't yet. This is a beautiful houseplant, and it is a coffee tree, and it has beautiful lush leaves. And one day it might actually produce coffee beans, but it hasn't happened yet. So all I'm doing today is we're going to remove a few leaves, give it a pruning. It is growing pretty well, and I do give it a decent amount of water. Where this plant normally lives is on a side table in the living room, and it's right beside the couch where I sit on every single morning and I drink my cup of tea. Every morning I have a cup of tea. Most of the time these days it's a chai tea, and this is actually a little bit left over. I don't know if you can see that in my glass. And one of my secrets, which I have actually don't think I've ever put it out onto YouTube, and I'm not a houseplant guru, but I've been doing this for a couple of years, more than a couple of years, is that I drink multiple cups of tea every single day. Whether it's chai tea, herbal tea, I'm like a tea addict. But I often have leftovers in my cup, like I just don't finish it, and I don't feel like reheating just like a little bit of tea, so I fertilize my plants with it. And let me tell you, I think tea is one of the best plant fertilizers, like no joke. Now, when I make a cup of tea, typically I only put milk in it. I put a little bit of milk. There was a time over Christmas, a little bit in December, January, where I was giving myself a little more freedom with my diet, and I was going a little crazier and having a little bit more sugar, and I would spike my tea with a little bit of hot chocolate powder. Now, I don't know if the hot chocolate powder versus the milk versus the water and the essence from the tea bag, what was the component that was most potent as a plant food fertilizer? But something was, because the plants responded really well. I mean, they have for years when I've given them my teas. And I try not to waste the tea. So if I'm not going to finish it, I most of the time water my houseplants with it. I actually haven't heard of any other YouTubers or plant people talk about using tea as a fertilizer. But it is good fertilizer for things like roses outside in your garden. If you have tea bags, which I have a lot of tea bags, if you put them around your roses, it's actually good fertilizer. So I figured years ago, why not give it to your houseplants too? And they seem to respond really well. So that was my little tangent, but we're not finished with my coffee tree here. We're going to give it a drink of water. And yes, this is seaweed fertilizer. It's getting well fertilized. A little bit of tea and a little drink of seaweed for the morning. Good morning, Grandma Sandy. Greetings. I'm almost done my houseplant care for today, but today we were looking after my neglected houseplants. I don't have a full collection here, but I'll show you what we did today. And I basically made a hot mess all over myself, all over the floor, all over everything. But the good news is my plants are now well looked after. They have had a little bit of TLC today. We have done some trimming, we have done some fertilizing, we have given you a little bit of history of these plants. and made a hot mess. I am so dirty from all of the, can you even see that? I don't even know. My pants are dirty, my floor is dirty. I'm going to have a lot of cleaning to do very soon, but that is all okay because the plants are well looked after and I was procrastinating with the plant care and I decided I need to do a live stream because that will get over the procrastination and I don't have to edit the video. Well, I absolutely love making YouTube videos and I absolutely love editing videos. They take a long time for me to edit. Some of those videos that I've made recently, like, some of the vlogs I've made, I will take a 4-minute section of video. 4 minutes of video will take me about 6 hours to edit. Because especially when I'm using special effects, my favorite editing program on YouTube, for YouTube, is actually called CapCut. And if you're wondering, I do 100% of all my video editing on my smartphone. That is where I do it all. So I use CapCut Pro, and CapCut has amazing special effects. And although I'm a gardening channel, I love making special effect videos. So I love to throw them into all kinds of gardening and nature videos. So when I do editing on a video, on a special effect, if I'm trying to make something that I think is mundane and boring a little bit more interesting, I will get hardcore into the special effects. There's so many categories, and sometimes for a video clip that is, say, a quarter of a second, I will look at, like, no joke, 50 special effects to try to determine what is the best special effect to put in this segment of video to make it super interesting or super unexpected, something you're not thinking is going to happen. The special effects that you can do in editing are just out of this world. Like, by nature, I am a nurse. That is my profession, that is my job. But if I had to start over, or maybe one day this will be a thing, if I can change careers at some point, I would love to just make videos. Like, if I went back to school, I wouldn't take a nursing specialty. I absolutely would not. After many, many, many moons of nursing, I am kind of done with it. Honestly, I love being a nurse, but I've done it for so long. I would love to make videos as like a full-time thing. I would love to do the editing. I would love to do the filming. It is so much fun, but it is not my career. I don't really make money from YouTube, unfortunately, but maybe one day that will change. Grandma Sandy. And because I'm so old, I do all my filming on my tablet. I can't see well enough to do it on my phone. That is totally fine. I don't do it on my computer. Honestly, I tried a little bit. I got a laptop, and originally part of the reason I got a laptop was to do video editing. Although, that being said, I had a desktop computer for like most of my life. And the time I got my laptop, it literally conked out. What happened was, this is another tangent, but basically, the computer started making a really loud noise, like I don't even know how to describe it. It sounded like a motor in a car running, and it was coming from my computer. And I said, "Oh no, this is not going. We're not having this happen in the house." It literally thought it was going to explode. So I turned it off and never turned that sucker back on ever again. It was done. I took it to the recycling depot, disposed of it appropriately, and went right to Best Buy to look for another laptop. No, I researched laptops first. But then I went directly to Best Buy, did not stop anywhere, went there and ordered another laptop. They didn't have the one I wanted, but ever since then, I have not wanted to try stuff on the computer. I did a little bit of editing, and I don't really know how to use the computer editing very well. I've never done Final Cut Pro or any of those things. I edit on my phone. I do CapCut. I do UCut Pro. I do Filmora. I just started using Filmora. If you're a YouTube creator and you edit videos, Filmora is pretty awesome. And I actually learned about it from another creator who I don't think is here, but sometimes joins in the live stream. His name is Creative Redundancy, and he makes videos about recycling and also about video editing and like just being a creator on YouTube. They're actually really fun to watch. He does live streams, And one of his videos, he recommended a bunch of the editors he used. So of course, I had to check out every single editor. I downloaded every video editor he recommended, and then I slowly downsized them from my phone. My biggest problem with making videos right now, my daughter is an RN nurse and she loves making videos. Yes, I know, Debbie, your daughter makes videos too. That is so awesome. My biggest problem for me making YouTube videos is actually my storage capacity. And this has been a problem since I had my old phone. I also upgraded my phone about a year and a half, a year or so ago. My phone, the problem I had with it, I used to make videos on a Samsung, oh God, I can't even remember the name, Samsung something or other. And the thing was, the battery started to drain so fast, I couldn't hold a charge very long. And that's why I said, enough is enough. I'm not doing this anymore. I don't want to plug my phone in every hour. So then I upgraded to the Google Pixel Pro 7, and I love it. Out of all the phones I've ever used in my entire life, whether it's for YouTube, for daily life, whatever, Samsung or the Google Pixel Pro 7 is amazing. It is such a good phone, awesome for filming videos. It is like 12 out of 10, so good. I love the feature in the photography, so you can take a picture for thumbnail or whatever, even for your daily use, and then say you have a garbage can in the background and you don't like that garbage can, but you're not there anymore. You can use the magic eraser and get rid of the garbage can. All gone. You don't even have to use an editing software. So that is super cool. Grandma Sandy, she does a beautiful job putting videos together. Like you, she loves doing special effects on her videos. Yes, they are so fun. Storage is also a problem with me because I make way too many. It is a huge problem. So what happens when I look on my files in the phone, I don't know, every phone is different, but if you look under your files, on mine, it says like you have your apps, you have your photos, you have your audio, you have, I can't remember the other categories. I think documents, anyways, and then it gives you a percentage breakdown of how much storage space is being used. Okay, so video and photo, all of that. My ratios are 70% of my storage space is used by apps, which is a big problem. And I'm constantly looking at the apps and trying to say, do I need this anymore? Can I get rid of it? And the answer is always no, I can't get rid of it. I have so many things that I use, whether it's for YouTube or even in my daily life. Like, for example, the city I live in has a garbage collection and recycling collection reminder system. And that is an app on my phone. And do I use it? Yes, I absolutely need it. My memory is not good. And that app reminds me when I need to take out the compost, the garbage, and the recycling. So I can't get rid of it. And I have so many little things like that. And it just eats up your storage space so poorly. So the reality is when I make videos, I can really only have 2 videos on my phone at one time. That's pretty much what I have storage for, is I can film like a garden tour. And then I can go into nature, say I want to film a vlog or I want to film a forest bathing video, something like that. That, on average, for me to film a forest bathing video is approximately, I'd say about 150 to 300 video clips. Not exaggerating, that is how many video clips I take. On average, that adds up to anywhere from 1 to 2 hours of video footage. So when I have that, then I need to break it down into anywhere from 10 to 20 minutes of video. And that takes a long time, let me tell you. Evan Stubbo, things might improve eyesight. Alpha acid light. Okay, I don't know how to pronounce that. And if they don't work, they are still very healthy. True, there are things you can do to improve your eyesight. Diet even, believe it or not. I think it's a myth about carrots, but I'm not sure if it's a myth. I still believe that. And there's other dietary things you can do too, but I'm not an expert. I'm not a doctor. I'm just a nurse, and we don't diagnose or prescribe, so I shouldn't even get into it with any of this stuff. Sight care. Yeah, but as you get older people do have poor, like not as good vision as younger people in general, as a rule. It is one of those things that as you age, your body does start to not work as well as when you were younger. And sometimes you can fix it and sometimes you can't. Sometimes you just have to learn how to cope with whether it is decreased vision, your decreased hearing. Sometimes you can use certain things to improve it, sometimes you can't, but you just kind of cope with the way your body is working. Grandma Sandy, I know this is going to be hard to believe, but my eyesight is not as great as it used to be. No, I completely believe it. That is so normal as you age. Maybe not everybody, but a lot of people have decreased vision as they age. It's pretty normal. Same with hearing. Hearing is one thing, I think, even more than vision, that seems to go for a lot of people as they get older. And even sometimes younger people have issues with hearing. It's not uncommon, well, a little bit uncommon, but younger people, I've known some that need hearing aids too. It's not, there's nothing wrong with it. If you need it, you need it. And if it helps you have a better quality of life, then use it. It's just another tool. My next son started losing his eyesight and we had to wear strong glasses at 8 years old. Yeah, my niece, I think she got glasses when she was, I want to say she was 2 when she got glasses. So, I mean, at any age, you can have poor vision. It just kind of depends. I've personally been very lucky. I'm not going to tell you my age. I know only a couple YouTube creators. It might be you, Grandma Sandy. There's only maybe 2 people on all of YouTube, other than the few people that know me in real life that sometimes tune into my channel, that actually know how old I am. And I purposely don't put that out there because I have such a wide audience range. My audience, if you look at your YouTube analytics, I literally have people in every category that watch my videos, from children all the way to the oldest age group. Now, most of them tend to be from the 20 to 44. There's 2 categories of the highest bar, but I literally have an audience that is so broad. I don't really want to tell people my age because it is so surprising, I would say. And even in real life, a lot of my patients are always wondering. They'll often ask how old they are. How long have I been nursing and how old am I? Those are my 2 most common questions. And they are mind blown when I tell them the story of how old I am and how long I've been nursing. I like to keep it a secret because it's just something kind of special that I don't like to tell too many people. And if you're lucky enough to know, then you're lucky enough to know. But it is something that I keep to myself. Looks so young to me. Well, I'll tell you a story. The only thing I'll say is I'm in my 30s. I won't say how old I am, but I am technically in my 30s. And until 1.5 to 2 years ago, I was still getting ID'd when I bought lottery tickets. No joke. I think it was even less than 1.5 to 2 years ago. And I was mind blown. Like, are you out of your mind? When I show them my driver's license, like, how old do you really think I am? That in Canada, they're supposed to ID you when you buy a lottery ticket or you buy liquor or anything like that if they think you're under 25. And I'm telling you right now, I am in my 30s. I won't say what age in my 30s, but I'm in my 30s. And the fact that you are telling me I need to show ID and you're not going to sell me the lottery ticket unless I provide the ID, I was mind blown. And this didn't happen once. This happened multiple times. And I was like, what in the world? That is the best compliment ever. And I'm always grateful. I'm never angry when somebody is like, oh, can I see your ID, please? I'm like, here you go. And then I watch their eyes pop out of their head. I'm like, wow, like, thank you so much for the compliment, but not what I expected. You can also change the way you do things to keep doing them. I share my children, my grandchildren, my great-grandchildren, so you know I have been up an age to have children. Yes, I don't have kids. I have nieces and they are so much fun. My dog was really like a child to me, but he is gone and I don't know what the future holds. I don't have a crystal ball, so I'm not sure. Although I do kind of have a crystal ball. We're not going to get into that. I don't have a real crystal ball, but I do kind of have a crystal ball, which is actually a subject of a whole other live stream, which we're not talking about today. Then that's a compliment. You look so young. Yes, thank you. I actually had that conversation just yesterday with one of my patients I look after at the hospital, and they had the normal questions that I get all the time. How long have you been a nurse for? And I'm going to tell you straight out, I have said this on my channel before, I've been nursing for 17 years. Now you can make your own assumptions with how old I might be for nursing for 17 years, but that's how long I've been nursing for. And then I watched their eyes pop out of their head. And then we had a whole conversation about aging and all that stuff. So I kind of have fun with those conversations. And one of the things I love about nursing is you meet people of all ages and you get to know their age. And I've met people over 100 several times in my nursing career. And most of the people over 100 do not look like they are 100. Like if I didn't know their age and I just walked up to them and started talking, I'd be like, that woman must be 70. She 100% looks like she's 70. And then I find out she's actually 101, and it just blows my mind. And when I find out those like moments, I'm like, okay, I gotta know her secret. So once I develop a little rapport, then I start probing some questions. I'm like, okay, so tell me, what did you do in your life to look the way you look, to be as healthy as you are? Yes, you're in the hospital, but overall, you're still doing really well. I want to know your secrets. And some of the responses I have gotten, one of the responses I've gotten in recent times, it was a lady who was, I think she was 101 actually, that one. She could still walk. She had her mind. It was clear as a crystal clear pool of water. She didn't have dementia or anything like that. And she said, I eat a lot of spinach, I drink wine sometimes, and I have like good family connections. Those were like the three things she told me. How to live a good life. Another older lady who I think was around 100, I had a similar conversation with her. She didn't mention foods, but what she did mention was happiness. She said, more than anything, you need to laugh a lot and you need to be happy. If you want to live to my age and you want to have a similar quality of health, those are the things you need to do. So I do take all those things to heart when I work with these older people, which I work with all the time in my job. I mean, not always over 100, but like older individuals, when they're in decent health, yet they still need the hospital, I try to find out their secrets because I want to implement them and maybe get to that stage of life with a high quality of life. We can look at life in terms of quality or quantity, and I want to have the longest quality of life with the highest quality. We are so off the topic of plants, I should probably say goodbye. My grandmother lived to 96 and my great-grandmother lived till 93. Plus I do not drink, smoke, or take drugs. Nor do I. I do not drink, I do not smoke, and I do not use substances. I outlived both of my parents, but they lived a rough lifestyle and they drank. Yeah. I mean, you make your choices in your life, whether you want to consume substances or alcohol or smoke, whatever you do. Some people love that, but it's personally not for me. And the one thing I have noted with the people who are over 100, now nobody mentioned it other than the lady who said drink wine. I mean, maybe I don't know if she's typical or not, but I would say none of them did substances. None of them really smoked or any of that kind of stuff. The ones that have lived over 100 that I have met in my career, they tend to be pretty healthy individuals and have just healthy lifestyles. Anyways, I have so gone off topic. Thank you for joining me on my plant care journey today. And I am going to call it a day. I do have to work today, but it is only 9 o'clock in the morning, so I have to clean the living room. I promised I would show you my mess. I'm gonna turn the camera around. So this is the mess I made. I actually had a lot more mess. I've been mopping it up with this towel, which is literally soaked in water from my leaky watering can, which I really, really should replace, especially after this live stream. And let's back up a little bit. Let's look at this mess in all of its glory. I have plant stuff here and there and everywhere. So I basically have a lot to clean up. I need to vacuum, possibly wash my floor, and put away all my plants before I go to work. and possibly even do some other things. So thank you for joining me today. I'll check out your channel a little later, Grandma Sandy. I don't know if I'm up to date with all your videos recently, and I will see you soon with another video. I don't know what that's going to be. I have not decided yet, but something will come soon. Bye-bye.